Okay, 1, 2, and great. All right. Welcome to the weekly service for Between the Worlds Church. Between the Worlds Wicked Christian Church is intentionally radically inclusive, and we welcome all persons of any race, color, age, ancestry, sexual or relationship orientation, body size, gender, religion, or any other difference. We respect each other and remember that all of our beliefs are equally valid in the eyes of Spirit. We love all the deities that are represented in our virtual congregation, and we include Jesus in our spiritual practice, however he may come to us. I'm Reverend Gina Pont, and I welcome you to our midweek service again. And no real announcements to be had today, except that things with the time change should be fine now, and we should be back, and we are now back to our regular 7 o'clock time slot. So that's all good. All right. So let us call in the elements. Spirits of the east, of air, may we always gain new knowledge and the resources to recognize our truth. Spirits of the south, of fire, may we always call on our passion to drive us and to do the work the Spirit has called us to do. Spirits of the west, of water, may we always remember to acknowledge the feelings of others and find our compassion. Spirits of the north, of earth, may we always remember that no matter who we are part of the earth, and we are made from the earth, and we will go back to the earth. Spirits of the center, that which we are, may we always hold each other up through the bad and the good in any way that we are called and able to serve. All right. Oh, sorry for the noise, everybody. Today I'd like to call in Jesus and Buddha, the gods of compassion, and Mary, and any other spirits that anyone else wants to call in about that deal with compassion and forgiveness and love. So, if you'd like prayers said for you, or if you have permission from someone to have prayers said for them, you can post them in the chat or say them to yourself out loud at home. Today, I'm praying for everybody in the US who went through the election yesterday, and I'm thankful that it went the way that it did, and prayers for hopefully things staying peaceful in the US after the election, and or at least as peaceful as they can be. I'm saying prayers for the Swiss Workers Union here, that they are able to get through what they need to do to get a good contract from the government. They're pretty. It was very interesting running into them yesterday. So, and Ray says, I pray that everyone in the U.S. doesn't go complacent now. Me too. From your lips to God's ears, or deity's ears, whoever. Because yeah, that definitely. And just some travel prayers for me, because I'm going to London this weekend. So hopefully that'll be a great trip. And so if you have anything else you want to say privately, I'll give a moment for silent prayer. Oh, and Ray says, Saturday is the anniversary of Crystal Unlocked. I pray we remember and don't repeat. Me too. Absolutely. So I'll give a moment for a silent prayer. Spirits of the universe, please hear our prayers. And please help us find peace in this world. Whew. So, to make up for last week's very short service, I have a very long sermon today, but I think a lot of folks will find it really interesting. Um, so, first, this week's reading is actually from the Book of the Law by Aleister Crowley. No matter what you think of Crowley, his Book of the Law is actually very interesting and very has a lot of things to think about. The man himself, well, that's another story for another day. So, this is from the Book of the Law. This book lays down a simple code of conduct. Do what thou wilt should be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will. There is no law beyond do what thou wilt. This means that each of us stars is to move on our true orbit, as marked out by the nature of our position, the law of our growth, the impulse of our past experiences. All events are equally lawful, and every one necessary in the long run, for all of us in theory. But in practice, only one act is lawful for each one of us at any given moment. Therefore, duty consists in determining to experience the right event from one moment of consciousness to another. Each action or motion is an act of love, the uniting with one or another part of Nui. Each such act must be under will, chosen so as to fulfill and not to thwart the true nature of the being concerned. So, if you haven't figured it out by now, I'm a heretic. In the definition that speaks to having opinions that are at odds with what is generally accepted. And that's basically the Google definition, one of the Google definitions, besides the religious one. So today we are going to talk about free will as it relates to compassion, love, and forgiveness. And the way I see these concepts definitely makes me a heretic among Christians, and surprisingly enough, it also makes me a heretic among some pagans as well. So let me explain, or let me sermonate about it. In Al-Anon, I learned about a concept called detachment, where basically you learn to exercise your own free will and learn to respect the free will of the addict in your life. You learn that you can't control the addict, or nor should you. And the hardest part of this is that you have to take a step back and let the addict do as they will. That includes letting them pay the consequences of their actions. It could be that you have to leave them, or that you have to watch them hit bottom, or even step back and let them get arrested or hospitalized. And this is also compassion. You are acknowledging, in this case, the addict's right to free will and their humanity, even if it results in something negative. They may be hurting you, excuse me. They may be hurting you or themselves. And while you may be angry at them or not want to talk to them again, you still acknowledge that they are human. And the thing is, compassion doesn't have to be nice. Compassion ensures that you do the right thing by someone just because they're a fellow human being. You don't have to love them, you don't have to forgive them, and it doesn't have to be all sunshine and rainbows. But you acknowledge that they have free will and that they'll mess up and they can always make different decisions. Love, on the other hand, is harder. Love is the part of you that cares. It's the stuff that's right here. It makes you want to help people regardless of their will. So in the case of dealing someone, say, who's an addict, love is the part that makes you want to plead with them to not destroy themselves. Love is the part of you that feels sad because they are hurting and you want to fix it. At its most extreme negative sense, love can make someone manipulative, and that can cause resentment in a relationship because you're stomping on that other person's free will. In its best sense, love can lift up others and give them the strength to be who and what they are. This, I think, is why love and compassion are so intertwined. Love makes you care for others, but compassion reminds you that people are free to do as they will. It's the reason why love is the law, but it's love under will. Another way to look at it. A plant won't really grow if you put a dark bowl over the new shoot so it doesn't get any sunlight or air. You may get some sort of growth, but it'll be stunted and sickly and not really strong and healthy. It could die. You may have put the bowl over it with good intentions to protect it from like wind or rain or animals or insects because you care about the plant. But in doing so, you forgot its nature. It's a plant. It needs sunlight, rain, and even the insects in order to help it become a strong and viable plant. So now you might be asking yourself, so where does forgiveness fit in this concept of free will? The biggest problem with forgiveness is that it has been its mainstream Christian PR. In a lot of denominations, conservative and progressive, love and forgiveness are always conflated with each other. It's almost like a mantra now. And like if you love somebody, then you have to forgive them, or that if you forgive somebody, you have to show them love after that. And to to this very concept, I give a hearty middle finger. Love and forgiveness are two completely separate things. Forgiveness doesn't mean you have to love somebody. Forgiveness just means that you, the one doing the forgiving, have stopped being angry, resentful, or wanting to punish the person you're forgiving. Forgiveness is more about the person doing the forgiving, in my opinion, than the one receiving it. In a lot of ways, forgiveness is actually more of an act of compassion, really, than an act of love. Because you're acknowledging that the person is a human being who screwed up. But you're also showing compassion to yourself in the process by acknowledging that you are also a human being who gets angry and you've gotten to a point where that anger or revenge or resentment, it just isn't worth holding on to anymore. And you're choosing to let it go and move on. Forgiveness doesn't mean you have to be nice to the person, nor do you have to have them in your life. Even if you do want to show love and have that person in your life after forgiveness, it doesn't mean that there isn't still consequences for that person because of their actions. And while someone may ask for another's forgiveness, they can't force someone to forgive them. Even if you give the most sincere apology, you're down on your knees and you're begging for it, it doesn't automatically mean that you are owed forgiveness. And when you view compassion as acknowledging someone's humanity and free will, you realize that when you are giving forgiveness, you're also giving yourself compassion. And if you're looking for forgiveness, the most compassionate thing you can do for the person you've hurt is to allow them the time and space to decide whether they forgive you or not. And when it comes to deity and forgiveness, love and compassion, though most religious and spiritual folks will say something to the extent of, God forgives everything, or if you sin, you're going to hell, especially in many Christian circles. Now, I argue that these concepts aren't unheard of in pagan circles either. It's just kind of dressed up differently. So then you're left asking, well, which is it? I mean, is God forgiving everything, or is he sending me to hell? I mean, where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go? I mean, do deities forgive transgressions, or do they dole out punishments for eternity? Well, it's confusing. But in my experience with deity, they don't give out blanket forgiveness, nor do they really make a tally of your transgressions to be accounted for after you die. Depends on your tradition, how you feel about that. But at least in my experience, that's the thing. And the way I see it, you're in a relationship with deities, like capital R relationship. Like you are in a relationship with deity the same way you're in a relationship with a friend, right? Or for some people, it is actually spouse or lover or however they see it. Deities will guide you. They'll give you advice, and they'll tell you about yourself when you mess up. But they too have free will and the ability to show compassion, love, and forgiveness. The difference being that on their plane, they see time, space, and people differently, and in ways that we really can't comprehend very well. And a lot of what we feel we need forgiveness for that we think we need to ask them to give us forgiveness for. They're like, that's a human thing. I don't care that you did that, you know? But if you are harming others or showing a lack of compassion or other things your deity or deities feel that is something you should not be doing, eventually they're going to let you know. Believe me, usually it's some sort of spiritual 2x4 to the head at some point in your life. Deity does, however, understand that we also have free will, because even deity understands that they can't control us, usually, most of the time. Deities can only, but also the other thing too is that deities can only do so much for us in the physical plane as well. They don't have hands or feet in this world like we do. So it's our choice to follow the deity's suggestions, and it's our will to follow what deity set forth for us. And sometimes it may not feel like it's our will, but we have to remember, whether it's a relationship on this plane or a relationship with deity, like if it's a relationship with a person on this plane or a relationship with deity on the astral, we always have choice. So let us pray. Spirits of the universe, remind us that regardless of what others say, we have free will, that there is always choice, yes or no, go or stay, fight or flee, love or hate, and many other choices. That we have the ability to make these choices for ourselves, and that we can't make these choices for others without explicit permission. Remind us that forgiveness is never required, but that forgiveness can heal, especially when we forgive ourselves. May we remember that compassion for others is important, even when we are angry at them, and that love can help us lift people up and allow them to be who they are supposed to be. In your many names, amen and blessed be. And Sarah said I had to add 93. All right. Sure. So I'd like to thank all the deities, Jesus, Buddha especially, and all the other deities of compassion that joined us today. I'd like to thank the spirits of earth, water, fire, and air. Thank you, all of you, for joining me this week. And may it go in peace and blessed be. Bye, Ray. Have a good day, everybody. Or at least, or evening if you're in my time zone. So, bye-bye. You're very welcome, Ray. I'll see you later. Oh, that wasn't too bad.